Welcome to Caleb's Basketball Pod. Recording this on Sunday, going to drop this on Monday morning. Lot of interesting games last night. We saw the Knicks get a blowout victory over the Kings. The Kings had been playing good basketball, but New York's been playing pretty good basketball too, under the radar basketball in my opinion. Their offense is still top 5 in the NBA, looking really, really good. The defense is starting to pick you up too as well. And they got, as I mentioned on the last episode, they got 2 all-star starters in Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns, and in my opinion, well-deserved. I also want to talk about the Rockets picking up another victory, 2 in the last 3 games over the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team that now only has like 9 losses, and Houston's beat them 2. And they've dropped their 4th straight, which is uncharacteristic for how that team's played so far. But from watching the games and I'm seeing just lack of defensive effort in my opinion. I don't know if maybe they just don't have the personnel, the big wings to defend. And Houston took them out of the element. Houston played very physical, and that is a way that when a lot of teams do that with Cleveland, it takes them out of the element a little bit. They have to get tougher, have to get bigger, stronger wings, in my opinion, longer length to defend. 2 straight games, they gave up 130. That's just not going to cut it, especially if you're trying to compete for a championship. But on the flip side, Houston did what they were supposed to. They went into Cleveland, they played amazing basketball, physical brand of basketball, and they got the job done. Şengün was really good. Jalen Green's been hitting shots, big shots. He had a pretty good game too last night. And Amon Thompson, played really good, triple-double last night for Houston. Houston's teams, they're coming together. They're a star away from, in my opinion, being a world championship contender out west. And I just love how Emi Udoka has that squad playing. Also around the league, we saw the Celtics bounce back with a big win in Dallas over Kyrie and Clay's Mavericks. Boston needed this win, in my opinion, and they needed the comfortable win that they got. Because you had a bad taste in your mouth after getting blown out by your rival, the Los Angeles Lakers. So you needed this. You needed this big victory to feel good, get confidence, and just move on from the just subpar Western road trip, in my opinion. But nonetheless, it's just getting back to their brand of basketball. We know Boston's a championship team. They've lost a few here and there, but we know when the playoffs come around, they're still going to be hard to beat, and in my opinion, the team to beat, no matter how hot other teams are. Boston's still, when you get to the playoffs, they're the team to beat, in my opinion. You have to knock off the champions, and then maybe you're the favorites, but you have to do that first, and it's going to be really tough for any team to knock off the Boston Celtics when it comes crunch time. We also seen the Suns defeat the Washington Wizards last night. Suns needed that victory. You don't want to lose to the Wizards, and when you have Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, you need that victory. So they got much needed victory, in my opinion. We also saw the Los Angeles Clippers. I want to talk about the Clippers for a little bit. So before the season, when we knew Kawhi was going to be injured, everybody almost wrote these guys off. They were almost like, well, it's just James Harden and a bunch of role players, is pretty much what people were saying. But Norman Powell has a case for an All-Star appearance this year. I did not mention him on the last All-Star pod, but he has a case for an All-Star. It's going to be hard for him to make it. I didn't mention him because he's not a name people will look for to put in. Does not mean he doesn't deserve it. Doesn't mean if he gets the nod that I'm going to be disappointed. I just didn't mention him because I didn't see him being a name someone would put in. But rightfully so, he deserves to be right up there. He's played amazing basketball. Him with James Harden have played really well. Role players have played really good in Los Angeles for the Clippers. Zubac, he's done really good, controlling the glass in most games. And just looking at James Harden play, like people thought maybe he was coming towards the twilight of his career. He put 40 last night on 50% shooting as the Clippers beat the Milwaukee Bucks. That's a really good game. That's a prime James Harden game. And we got to see that last night. Really good basketball being played by the Clippers right now. Props to them and props to T. Lue. because he's doing a great job coaching those guys up over there. Their defense is actually good in Los Angeles with James Harden. James Harden gets a lot of crap for his defense, but he's actually playing really good and doing good on a pretty good defensive team in Los Angeles. So just props to them. I want to say they're staying afloat in the West, and they're up there right now. They will even be in the play-in. So they're up there, and just don't count them out yet. If they get Kawhi back and they get him healthy, and they get like a 4th or 5th seed, they're not the team that the Oklahoma City Thunder wants to see in the second round of the playoffs. Mark my words on that. OKC's looking like they're going to lock up that number 1 spot. They don't want to see a healthy Kawhi Clippers team in the next round. That could very well be an upset. That could be an upset, the Lord. Just mark this down. And remember, I called you if it happens that the Clippers could very well upset the Oklahoma City Thunder in the second round of the Western Conference playoffs. It's possible Kawhi is dangerous if healthy in the playoffs. But if healthy is big, it's always a big concern. Unfortunately, the Clippers haven't had that healthy Kawhi throughout most of his time in Los Angeles. When he did one of his better playoff runs, they got to the Western Conference Finals, then he got injured against the Phoenix Suns. Just saying, a healthy Kawhi Leonard is always dangerous, especially playoff time. When he knows it's winning time, he turns it up. If we all remember that legendary, in my opinion, one of my favorite playoff runs to watch, that Kawhi Toronto Raptor playoff season where he was in Toronto that one year when he was healthy, he was the guy. He was scoring and breaking scoring records. He was doing it all for the Toronto Raptors. So just don't count out the Clippers. Not the game in Western Conference. Remember, I told you guys a couple episodes ago, Minnesota's starting to find their way. They had a big blowout victory over the Denver Nuggets yesterday. They're finding their way. They're coming along. Anthony Edwards is playing really, really good basketball. In my opinion, he would have been who I would have picked as the utter Western guard besides SGA. But it's a lot of fan vote and popularity contest. Not to say Steph deserved to be an all-star. I just would have picked someone with a little better record and more consistency. And I think Anthony Edwards has been more consistent on games and scoring than Steph Curry has been this season. Steph's had some really bad games. And like I said, he deserves to be an all-star. I just think a bench all-star this year. But nonetheless, I still do honestly believe and think that there's no possible way Anthony Edwards gets left off the All-Star roster. This man has been balling, especially as of late. And Rob Dillingham for Minnesota, rookie, he had a pretty good game. He made an impact late first quarter, early second quarter. He's making an impact against the Nuggets. That's what we're wanting to see if we're Minnesota. We want to see him take some of the pressure off of Michael Conley. But Conley don't have to do much because Conley's getting older. He's been in the league since 2007. So we want to see somebody take some of that pressure, that ball handling, and make a difference off the bench. We want to see that. He's more of a point guard type, I think, a little bit more than Dante DiVincenzo, and we know Dante DiVincenzo is going to be out for a long time with a toe injury. And we also seen Dallas not only lose Derek Lively for a few months, they lost Maxi Kleber for a few months. They're starting to get very thin, speaking of injuries, at that center spot. But back to Minnesota, I love how they're playing. Naz Reid's been huge off the bench. And guys are just finding their way. They're finding their spots. We know Jaden McDaniels, really good defender, 3-and-D guy, can get his own basket. I think Minnesota, maybe we find a second to Edwards, maybe deadline, but more than likely in the offseason, and they'll be right back up there in top of the Western Conference contention. I just think maybe Julius Randle ain't the best 2 option because the ball's sticking too much in Minnesota. But, hey, who knows? Maybe he'll figure out how to distribute the ball a little bit more and be a part of the offense instead of being the offense. If he could figure that out, I think Minnesota would be fine. But that's tough for a player to do when they're not used to that style of play, which is why I go back to that Knicks trade. They made a huge trade, get in town someone that's been a part of their offense, not having ISO to be the full offense. And we see what Karl Anthony Towns is doing, looking like a budding superstar over in New York. With that said, I'll see you Wednesday. just keep watching the league. We only have one game on this Sunday night. We'll talk about that and much more on Wednesday's episode, and try to see when we have the date for announcing All-Star Reserves and see how many I got right on my predictions. But nonetheless, that's another episode of Caleb's Basketball Pod. See you Wednesday.